lesson, we are going to study geometric progressions and arithmetic progressions. To be precise, geometric progressions are progressions in which the terms added differ from one another by a common ratio, such that from a term to the next, we multiply by a common ratio. The AP, arithmetic progressions, are terms in which from one term to the other, there is a common difference added. Therefore, we're going to look at a question which combines the two concepts, and we are told that the first term of an arithmetic progression is 2. The sum of the first 8 terms of the arithmetic progression is 156. The questions are, find the common difference of the AP. Therefore, if we start solving the first part, we are told first of all the first term, which we mostly let to be A, is given as 2, and that sum of 8 terms, the sum of 8 terms is given as 156. So we know the formulae of getting the sum of a given number of terms for an arithmetic progression, such that the sum of a given number of terms, the general formula, is that we take n, the number of terms, out of 2, we divide this one by, or we open brackets, 2 times a, the first term, then plus n minus 1 multiplied by d, where d is the common difference. So we can calculate the common difference by saying the sum of 8 terms is 156, because it's already given, equals to n is the number of terms, which is 8 out of 2, into 2 multiplied by the first term, which is a, and it is 2, plus n, which is 8, minus 1 becomes 7, multiplied by the unknown d. So here we can divide to give us 4, such that 156 equals to 4 into 4 plus 7d. We can first of all divide through by this 4, so that this becomes 39 equals to 4 plus 7d, such that now we can subtract 4 to this side and have 35 equals to 7d, and we can resolve that d equals to 5. That is when we divide through by 7. We can check what Roman 2 says. We are told to find for the same progression given that the sum of the first n terms is 416, find n. So we are told that there is a certain number of terms of this progression which give us a sum of 416, and we are told to find that number of terms. So we can now say that 416, the sum of a given unknown number of terms out of 2 here, divide by, we are applying the same formula, 2 multiplied by a, which is 2, plus n, which is unknown, minus 1, we multiply this one by d, already calculated as 5. So we can multiply by these 2, so that we do away with the denominator. This gives us 832 equals to n into, this is a 4, plus 5n minus 5, such that we can say 832 equals to, this is negative 1, so we can say negative n plus 5n squared. And now we can rearrange this so that we may obtain what we call a quadratic equation, such that we can start with 5n squared minus n minus 832 equals to 0. These are quadratic equation which can be solved by the quadratic formula, which says because the unknown is n is provided by negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2 times a, such that we can have n being given by the coefficient of n is what we call b, and it is a negative 1. So negative negative 1 becomes a positive 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared becomes 1 plus 4 into a is 5 multiplied by c, which is a negative 832. It is very important to know that we should have a minus here. That is a minus. Then we divide by 2 into brackets a, which is 5. So that we'll have 1 plus or minus the square root of, this is 1 plus 16,640. That is when we multiply negative 4 by 5 by negative 832. It becomes a positive because of the two negatives. Such that now when we divide this one by 10, then we can agree that n is going to be 1 plus or minus the square root of 16,641 out of 10. So that we may say n can either be 1 plus or minus the square root of 16,641 is 129. Then there is dividing by 10 here. So that the two values of n will be either 1 plus 129 out of 10 or 1 minus 129 out of 10. This one will give a negative value. And remember, we are calculating a certain number of terms. So a certain number of terms cannot be negative. So we omit this value of n and work with 130 divided by 10, which gives us 13 terms. So n is going to be 13 terms. So the number of terms in that progression, which gives a sum of 416, equals to 13 terms. So that is how we solve part 2 of the same question. We can look at part B of that question. Part B of that question tells us that given that the third, the fifth, and the eighth terms of another progression form the first three terms of a GP, if the common difference of the AP is 3, find the first part. We have the first term of the GP, and Roman 2, the sum of the first 9 terms of the GP. So here, we are going to use the third term. We know that any other term of an AP, any other term is usually given by A plus n minus 1 multiplied by D, such that the third term is going to be A plus n is 3 minus 1, which is 2D. Then we have the fifth term. The fifth term is going to be A plus 4D, because 5 minus 1 is 4 multiplied by D. And the eighth term in the same progression is going to be A plus 7D. So this is an expression of the third, the fifth, and the eighth terms. We are further given that the common difference is 3. So if the common difference is 3, we can get similar expressions for the same, such that this is A plus, if D is 3, then 2 by 3 is going to be 6. A plus 4 by 3 is going to be 12. And A plus 7 by D is going to be 21. So it's good to know that D is 21. Therefore, we are told that now these terms, the three of them, they form the first 3 terms of a geometric progression, such that because we are told they form the first 3 terms of a geometric progression, this simply means that when we take A plus 12 and we divide with the first term, which is A plus 6, there is a common ratio we should get. And that common ratio should also be gotten when we take A plus 21 out of A plus 12. So that one can be equated. because the ratio gotten after dividing second term and the first is the same ratio we should get after dividing the third term and the second term. For instance, if a geometric progression is of 2, 4, 8, 16, it means when we divide 4 and 2, we should get whatever we get after dividing 8 and 4, and when we divide 16 and 8, and the common ratio for this case is a 2. So it means there is a common ratio because we've been told that these three terms form the first three terms of a GP. So now we can cross multiply here, and cross multiplying we get a squared plus 24a plus 144. This one equals to when we multiply a by a, we get a squared plus a squared plus 21a plus 6a. So that becomes 27a plus 6 by 21. So 6 multiplied by 21. This gives us 126. So now we can group like terms together. A squared and a squared, these ones can cancel, such that now we can have 27a and 24a. This becomes 3a. Then 126 subtracted from 144 gives us 18. So is that a becomes 6. So a is 6. And when a is 6, now it means for the GP, because we are told now to calculate the first term of the GP. Now the first term of the GP is a, which has been gotten as 6, plus 6, which is 12. So that one has been solved. The first term is 12. The second term is going to be 6 plus 12, which is 18. The third term is going to be 6 plus 21, which is 27. So these are the terms. And if these are the terms, we can solve Roman 2, which says we get the sum of the first 9 terms. And to get the first of the 9 terms, we can first of all, because we've known first term, now for the GP is 12. Ratio, which must be uniform when you divide 12, 18 over 12, and 27 over 18. Can confirm 27 divided by 18 is giving us 1.5, and 18 divided by 12 is giving us 1.5. So the ratio is 1.5. So we have the common ratio and we have the first term as 12, and with those two, then sum of a given number of terms for GP is calculated as a into r power n minus 1 divided by r minus 1. And this is going to be, the first term is 12. The first term is 12 into r, which is 1.5, raised to 9, because we're finding sum of the first 9 terms. Then we subtract 1 divided by 1.5 minus 1. So that is the formula I now substituted. This is going to give us, when we take 1.5, we raise it to power 9. Then we subtract 1. This one we multiply by 12. Then we divide by 0.5, because 1.5 minus 1 is 0.5. This gives us 898.6. We are told to 4 significant figures. So that is the answer. Thank you for following. Subscribe to this channel and share the link.